Okay, this is kind of a fun thing. We've got a 1986 vending box of tops, which is supposed to be unopened. For those of you who don't know, let me just check the camera here. The vending boxes are supposed to be have this wavy pattern. To be honest with you, I'd be surprised somebody's faking a 1986 vending box. Mostly just because it's not really worth it. However, these look a little bit strange, I will say. They have a wavy pattern, but I noticed when you put cards away in the right order, they tend to reform that wavy pattern. So we'll see what we pull out of here. Pardon me. So yeah, so 1986 vending box. We'll see what we pull out here. There should be 500 cards. You're looking for that wavy pattern, but you don't always get it. I used to be obsessed with the Don Mattingly card in this. And so we'll see what the deal is here. I might have to do this in 2 parts because there's 500 cards in here. So, Keith Moreland. There it is. Nolan Ryan right there. It's not bad. It's good center. Nice and centered. Maybe a little dinged up. It's a nice looking card though. There's a little Nolan action. See what else we pull out of here. I look at what Eric Davis is apparently like the hardest card in the world to get in a PSA 10 in this. It's like there's only 3 of them. Mariano Duncan, Brett Butler. There's a sweet Lenny Dykstra card in here. Fontenot, Cecil Cooper. There might be a nice Cecil Fielder in here. Carney Lansford, Bob Rogers, Steve Kemp, Bob Grich, Craig Gerber. See, they're upside down and right side up, so hard to imagine anyone would spend this time for $30. Rich Bordy, Rick Shue, Tom Wallace, Warren Brewstar, Ryan Sandberg. That one's got a real corner ding on it. Britt Burns, Dougie Flynn, Storm Davis, Phil Kruger, Floyd Rayford, Dan Pasqua, Joe Necro. And he looks like he's 1,000 years old there, and he is. Been pitching since '67. Sparky Anderson, 100,000 years old. George Baumberger, Jerry Royster, Randy St. Clair. You notice I'm not as bad at the names here as I am in the 70s cards. Then I'm really bad. Denny Walling, John Candelaria. This is actually the Alejandro Pena. This is the first set of cards I ever bought packs out of when I was 6 years old. Sid Fernandez, Onyx Conception, Buddy Bell, Tom Niedenfuhrer, John Christensen, Carmelo Martinez, Bobby Brown, Chris Welch, Pat Clements, Jim Beatty, Wayne Tolston. All right, so we've got basically hit on 1 card so far. Not amazing, but you know, whatever. Tim Hewlett, Roger McDowell, Dale Murphy, looking good. Harold Reynolds, Terry Kennedy, Roy Smith, Dave Steve, Kirk Gibson, looking good, Kirk, nice and centered. Put him there. Dan Quisenberry, Mike Easler, Cal Ripken. That's a nice looking Cal Ripken there. Again, you gotta hit these perfectly. There's a ding on the corner up top there. George Brett, Ron Reynolds, Rod Carew, Loft, Steve Lyons, Ed Lynch, Don Mattingly. This was my card. This was a card everybody wanted when they were kids. He was like tearing it up in '87. This one's all banged up. Dave Winfield, Milt Wilcox, Terry Harper, Mike Smithson, Jeff Reardon, Carlos Diaz, Rick Mahler, Leon Durham, Dennis Boyd, and Pete Rose. Some of these are just like bent. They're not even really dinged. They're just like, I don't know if I can just like fold that back. This one's nice looking. I like the way this one looks. It's got a little scuff up by the D there, or a print defect. That's a nice little card there. The problem is if you don't nail these and get a 10, they're basically worthless. A because they're basically considered junk wax. It's $1 a pack. I love these little Pete Rose Back in Time cards. Bob Shirley, Bob Horner, Claudel Washington, Mookie Wilson, Don Villardello, Glenn Davis, Dale Berra, Matt Young, George Wright. Boy, I wonder if you could have seen those first cards. Maybe not. Tim Wallach, Greg Booker, Ron Guidry, looking Ron, Bob Clark, Mario Soto, Eddie Milner, Ken Schramm, Dave Collins, Jim Clancy, Bob Lillis, Lou Whitaker, Bob Welsh, Craig Walker. So just as a recap, the winter cards, in case you didn't see them because of that glare I just saw. Ripken, Nolan, Pete Rose right before he got in trouble, and Don Mattingly. That was a card everybody wanted back in the day. All with little minor issues, except for maybe the Cal Ripken, but I don't even know what that's worth. Tony Perez, oldest guy to ever hit a home run or grand slam. And hey, Reggie. There's Reggie. Reggie J. A little bent corner. Looks like the box got kicked by somebody. Still, it's nicely centered, but it's real banged up on the back here. See that? I don't know if you can see that. Corner's all jacked up there. Anyways, Reggie. Twins leaders. Cardinals leaders. Yada yada. Dave Lopes. Pedro Guerrero. Pete Rose Back in Time. Zebba Saberhagen. Sit-in. I'm just gonna go. This is really, and just you don't need to see all this. Let's see if we get anything else in here. Steve Palmer, Willie McGee, Larry Sheets, Tim Raines. Oh, there's Tim Raines. It was like 3 years off of his. Trying to pull out all the Hall of Famers, but you don't need to see all this garbage. You know, it's funny. There's Fernando. You know, it's funny. You don't really. His name barely fits. You don't really see, because Canseco wasn't in this. Donruss was like the set everybody wanted back then. Those blue borders. But this is definitely the nicer. I like these more, these cards. Steve Carlton. But when I was a kid, everyone wanted that Canseco rookie because everyone thought he was going to hit like 10 billion home runs. And of course, I don't know if you got to see the Jackson, the Reggie. Got that big corner problem on the bottom there. Yikes. Samuel, Dave Dravicki, Ozzie Smith, there he is. Ozzie. Yeah, that's the first one without a banged up corner. Greg Minton, Conception. Yankees leaders, Derek Kenny, Roy Smith, Dave Steve, Mike Sosha, great catcher. Pete O'Brien, Mariners, leaders, Damasco Garcia, Steve Lyons, Ed Lynch, Bob Boone, leaders, Andre Dawson, there's technically a Hall of Famer, off top to bottom. Can you see that? Hopefully you can see that because I can't see the camera. Alright. And we'll do this last part and then we'll come back to it because this is a long video already. Jim Wolford, Pete Rose, highlights, Keith Hernandez, the best mustache ever, Al Pardo, Dave Schmidt, George Bell, Dave Rucker, Juan Beniquez, Willie McGee, great player, Greg Gross, O.D.B. McDowell, Sean Dunston, he was a popular guy to have too, Steve Ontiveros, Kurt Bavacqua, Pat Sheraton, Atlee Hammaker, Kevin Bass, Cesar Cedeno, Jeff Calhoun, Joe Price, Chris Bando have thousands of his card. Jerry Harrison, Rudy Law, John Felsky, Lamar Hoyt, Don Ace, Luis Leal, Willie Upshaw, Donnie Scott, another Keith Hernandez there, looking for Keith, Ted Power, Gary Templeton, Steve Carlton, another Hall of Famer, Buddy Biancalana, Dave Smith, Bill Quaddle, Pete Rose, the Thing Again, Dravicki, Gene Nelson, Alex Trevino, Mike Stenhouse, Vince Coleman, Breaking Records. We'll do one more little pie, I think, and then we'll call it a half. Jerry Royster, Randy St. Clair, Denny Wallach, Rory Thomas, Bill Buckner, Through the Legs, Sid Fernandez, Onyx Conception,